Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a very large winter storm that is already currently going on across the western United States. It is delivering quite a bit of snow, very heavy snow, very heavy rain, and its impacts will be spreading into a good portion of the central and eastern United States, anywhere from ranging anything from severe weather to more heavy snow, more heavy rain. So it's a storm that's full of concerns, and you can see I have pulled up here the precipitable water normalized anomaly, and yeah, this thing is going to have an incredible footprint of moisture from it. If I play back the past few hours here, you can see that we've seen tons of moisture drawn in from the west, which is why there's so much warm air around the United States right now. Very, completely different from what we've been seeing these past few weeks, especially around Christmas time with that bitter cold air. So again, this isn't all snow, but this is the moisture footprint from the system, and on the northern side is obviously where that snow will be occurring. Heavy rain further towards the south, and severe weather as you go more further towards the south. So I want to give you a brief, not brief, but a pretty detailed, overview of what could be coming, and my little hobbyist opinions, if you will. So I do want to also say that if you are, don't want to watch the whole video because this thing is long, just skip to your region. It's divided by chapters. You can see in the description box below, there's blue little numbers next to your listed region. Click on that, and you should just, see that. So if you want to do that, go ahead. But let's start off with looking at the Northwestern United States, and that's the first region I want to talk about. So let's go back to the GFS model here in Tropical Tidbits. Again, thankfully, actually no, let me go to the HER model, because thankfully we have already data that is coming in for the short range for the Northwest and Southwest, so it's more precise. We will use the global models when we're talking about the other regions of the United States. But right now, again, as I'm mentioning, the snow and rain is already spreading across Nevada, Utah, Idaho, so this thing is already beginning to make its impact. However, it still hasn't strengthened to its full potential and what it will be doing later on. So notice as I put this into motion across Oregon, Idaho, you see that snow spreading into tonight and into the overnight hours. Tomorrow, you can see Wyoming, Utah, Colorado picking up quite a bit of snow. Rain, you can see really starting to almost slow down completely and become a stationary band across central northern Nevada and central, really northern California. Again, Washington, Oregon, especially the northern areas of those states, you guys are mainly done with heavy precipitation. You guys won't be seeing too much out of this. Same with northern Idaho, but Idaho, southern Idaho, Wyoming, and again northern Nevada, northern Utah, you guys will really be picking up the snowfall, and actually will be increasing intensity as we get into tomorrow. So notice by 8 a.m. this is what it looks like. So again, still pretty similar. Precipitation is all over the maps, kind of similar to what's going on now. But what we do see is quickly an intensifying band of precipitation, and we see more moisture getting pumped in. So we see some rain snow mixing going back and forth across Nevada. Again, southern Oregon still getting in on that snow. Idaho, Salt Lake City, maybe a brief break through the day tomorrow, but in the afternoon hours the snow picks up again. You can see much of Idaho seeing very heavy snow, into Wyoming, northern Nevada, Utah, as this thing finally starts pushing away. But it is a pretty strong system, 996, 997, so there will be quite a bit of strong winds with this thing, which will add to the concerns. Notice Wyoming, you guys are mainly not into the snow up until probably late tomorrow in the morning or early afternoon hours, and you can see once that snow starts, though, it's going to continue for a while, eventually leaving most of northern California and northern Nevada by the time we get into late Saturday. However, into Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and northwestern Colorado, this snow is still lingering, and you can see Salt Lake City getting on some very heavy snow into the overnight hours, and you can see this continues for a while. We only get out to 48 hours using this model, so you don't even see the whole scope of this thing. But by late Sunday, again, most of the Northwest at this point is done, excluding maybe Wyoming and southern Montana. But you can see total snowfall. It's quite significant, especially where that kind of stalls out across Nevada, into Idaho, into Wyoming there. The Wasatch Mountains really picking up quite a bit. The different higher elevations across Nevada picking up quite a bit as well. Southern Idaho again. You can see, though, northern Idaho, northern Washington a bit more, but not as much as the southern areas here. The total footprint in terms of precipitation, you can see, is also pretty significant, especially for the northern Sierra there. Again, that will be falling mainly as rain, not snow, so not the best for the snowpack, but it's still rain, and that will add to add to the reservoirs and whatnot. I looked at the Lake Oroville water level, and it was adding 3 to 4 feet per day now, so it is definitely definitely helping with that this system. Let me go now to the global model, since we can't look out past hour 40 48. And let me just show you that again at 12 p.m. Sunday, this thing is still across Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and you can see it only leaves these areas by Tuesday early in the morning. So total snowfall, you can see, continues adding on across these areas, and it is let's say pretty darn significant across these areas. And the European model is in pretty good agreement with that. You can see this is how the storm plays out in its opinion. You can see Washington, Idaho into tonight and tomorrow, you're picking up a lot of that snow. Utah, Montana, southwestern Montana, Colorado, Wyoming, Nevada, and then this thing you can see starts intensifying and it finally moves out of here, but really lingers all the way into today and Tuesday. So precipitation amounts are going to be pretty high, and in some areas concerningly high, as this is a lot of especially rainfall here. Some amounts 6-7 inches that could cause some flooding concerns. So you can see a nice precip footprint. And in terms of the snowfall, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which isn't the most accurate for some areas, but overall it's going to be a wet, heavier snow as it is pretty warm. You can see some decent accumulations, especially across the Sierra there. So definitely a big system headed your way. And again, the worst is still, I guess, coming for certain areas. And you can see there's some watches starting to get issued across Wyoming, Casper, right, the capital right there. I believe at least is the capital. I may be mistaken there. But you can see 1 to 2 tonight, Sunday, but it really starts picking up into Saturday night, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day and Saturday night, 4 to 8. So pretty good event for you guys there. Okay, let's move on to the southwestern United States. This is another region that will be very heavily impacted by this system. And let's start showing you first off the HER model, which is a short range model. Only goes out to 48 hours, so it isn't the most well, it won't show us the whole scope of this thing, but it's the most accurate one, I believe. So notice into tonight the rain will continue. Again, notice rain very far north in the elevation, maybe just the tallest mountains across Northern California, seeing some snow. Otherwise, mainly rain for these areas. But as this rain continues and intensifies, you can see more snow beginning to occur across the Sierra there. More snow transitioning, more rain into snow across Nevada, into Oregon, Idaho, Salt Lake City area, northern Utah. And you can see as this thing intensifies, this tail that it drags, this cold front, really is dumping a lot of snow late Saturday and early Sunday across the Sierra. These amounts will be falling 4 to 5 inches of snow per hour potentially. And again, depending on how long this thing how long this thing lasts for, and how cold it will be and how fast that changeover occurs determines those exact amounts for the mountainous areas. But overall, very powerful system. Notice brings rain well into Los Angeles, Southern California, so that's also good. Lake Mead, Las Vegas picks up quite a bit of rain there, so that's good. And then notice while Salt Lake City may be seeing some rain initially, probably by early Sunday that converts into snow. And you can see that this thing moves through Arizona, potentially some even nasty thunderstorms there occurring, and this thing starts still going on well into the late Sunday into Monday time frame. Total snowfall just through that time frame, pretty heavy. Again, it could be honestly heavier if it was just a bit colder, especially across the Sierra. Still, though, very high snowfall amounts. And again, we're not even all said and done at this point. If you look at the GFS model, look at all the snow that will still be added on from late Sunday. You can see the bulk of it for Colorado, Utah, and into Wyoming, Arizona, and New Mexico. So let's go back to our 48 and let's play this out for you, where we do see that HER model, unfortunately, just cut us off. So again, this thing's mainly done for Oregon, Northern California, Central California, most of Northern Nevada, I would say by late Sunday afternoon. You can see it's wrapping up, but it's just entering areas like New Mexico, Colorado, still pounding areas like Utah, Arizona, Wyoming, and you can see this thing takes its kind of sweet old time through the day on Monday. Definitely wrapping up by the time we get into late Monday afternoon, but still some scattered snow showers, especially the further east you go. And then we see another system moving, so the activity continues. It doesn't stop at that storm, but let's just say we end it here. A little bit of that snow will be added on from that new system, but again, let's just show you this. So through Tuesday, January 3rd, you can see a lot of snow obviously across the southern central Sierra, but northern Nevada, Wasatch, Colorado Rockies, Arizona, New Mexico. This is encouraging signs. We need precipitation here across these areas. The snow levels are very low compared to the other areas further north and west, so that's definitely good. Wyoming also needed that snow, and that's good. That's a very encouraging sign. European model in terms of its snowfall footprint also very similar. You can see that is thankfully relatively in agreement. Few differences, but nothing that I want to go into too much detail. Obviously, for the official weather, go to your local National Weather Service office. Let's start talking about this north central United States. This is another area that is going to be impacted by it. There aren't any watches up for you guys yet across the north central United States. And the main reason for this as well, obviously it's a bit further out than the Southwest and Northwest, but the other reason for this is that there's just a lot less confidence when it comes to this system. Obviously there's going to be snow, and it looks like it will be heavy, and there's more confidence than there was yesterday, but it's not as high as, say, across the Northwest or Southwest, where this thing is practically already occurring, and we have amounts that are a lot more concrete, and they're already issuing these amounts here, and the impacts. If you look, you could take a look at, say, Minnesota, where we could have a very good potential snowstorm. If I was a betting man, I'd bet that this would be an area that could see a lot of snow. It's, you don't have any advisories yet. You do have a mention of snow, wintry mix, and long range, but again, it's still just a little bit too far out. Regardless, I start looking at this, and unfortunately, we can't use the HER model, but we can look at the GFS model, which is a long-range model that goes out relatively far out. It's not the best model, but I do believe it's a very good scenario to look at and compared to the other ones, which I'll show you several scenarios. So again, the next few days, nothing really much going on across these areas. A few areas of showers and snow will be occurring across maybe the Midwest, but generally through Saturday, tomorrow, and into Sunday, a warming trend. And by the time we break into Monday, which still is a day off for many because of the fact that New Year's lands on a Sunday, you can see it's warm, but we do start seeing some activity already spilling across Nebraska, the Panhandle, Nebraska. They do have some winter storm watches. South Dakota, Minnesota, potentially some frontogenesis band out here. These sometimes could be pretty powerful snowfall rates here that could catch forecasters off guard, so that's something to watch for potentially. But you could see that the real precipitation, according to the GFS, starts setting in or starts exploding from the south with Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, all these areas getting in on rain by late Monday, Tuesday. Again, some of this rain will be heavy, potentially even some storms. Notice the GFS has a more northern scenario compared to the European. I'll show you that one in just a second. But Minneapolis, St. Cloud, you guys are going to be seeing mainly rain and ice from this, according to this model, and cities like Duluth, Grand Forks, Fargo maybe picking up more snow out of this, Aberreen in South Dakota, cities like that really benefiting from the GFS scenario here. And do notice that as this band of very heavy precipitation lifts towards the north and east, it obviously does add to some of that snowfall, and those rates increase. So northern Wisconsin, near Ironwood, eventually Minneapolis does get on some snowfall, and you can see it's pretty quick. So this is what it looks like late Monday through the day on Tuesday. This thing's pivoting through the Midwest, and again, this rain will be continuing pretty heavily at times towards Michigan, Indiana, but you could see that the snowfall is pretty much wrapped up by Wednesday. So not an incredible snowfall scenario from the GFS. The European is a bit more bullish with this. Regardless where that snow does occur, a nice stripe of potentially 8 to 12, 14 inches, which is still a significant event nonetheless, could occur. Now, this is just a GFS, and I want to show you the European, which I believe the European is more accurate with this system. It's shown more consistency, and the GFS has trended over the past few days towards something more of what the European would be showing, which leads me to believe the European will be right this time around with this system. And do note, or more accurate at least. So notice it all looks the same, right? Again, Sunday, Monday, this precipitation starts across the Nebraska Panhandle into South Dakota. But what we do already see is there's already a lot more moisture across the south here, and instead of that precipitation that the GFS showed, launching towards the north and east, it's more northern oriented, so it heads more into that cold air, which produces more snow for a wider area. Notice that Iowa, Missouri, Kansas getting in on some pretty heavy rainfall already by late Monday. Again, it's a slower moving system, and it's much further south. We see rain and snow setting up not way across northern Minnesota, north of Minneapolis, but south of Minneapolis, even southern Minnesota getting some ice, snow, very heavy rain across Illinois, severe thunderstorms down towards the south, Wisconsin, Kansas, Nebraska picking up some rain as well, but eventually a little bit of snow as well. Notice this thing pushes a lot of the precipitation towards the north. Again, you can see a pretty nasty cold front through all these states, but look what the European does. It takes a very heavy band of snow through just literally right through Minneapolis, northern Wisconsin, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, narrowly, I can't say that word. I don't know why. I'm gonna go. Near missing cities like Des Moines, Iowa, maybe Kansas City getting on some wraparound precipitation. So overall, it's a quick moving guy, but you can see it's further south as well. And while there will be more heavier rain across Missouri, Iowa, that snowfall, the main difference is it's the placement of it. It's quite a bit further towards the south, and you can see, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, it's still an impressive event. So, cities like Minneapolis, the large metro area here, a foot potentially, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, over a foot. And again, we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. Most of the state of Nebraska getting in on a lot of snow. But again, I do believe that the most profound impacts from this are going to be across the West. Obviously, I guess in terms of people impacted the East because more people live in the East, but still, these snowfall totals across the West are a bit more, let's say, a bit more impressive than some of these here. Again, they're still impressive here, just maybe not as much. Let me take a look now and show you so let me show you a different model here that I have, the Canadian model. So this is a kind of a separate one, and you can see I'll just show you its snowfall footprint. It's in line more with what the European shows, and usually when a Canadian and European are more in line, that means that, well, the GFS is the outlier. Not always, but usually. You can see it also shows that snow even further south and shows a bit more across Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, maybe some of that wraparound precip. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Definitely something we'll have to watch for. But again, I guess the bigger news story with this is also just the amount of precipitation that will be falling from this across the Midwest here, north central United States. It's going to be quite a bit. You can see the Canadian shows 1 to 2 inches, if not more, especially where we do see some thunderstorms. The GFS, if you take a look at its total accumulated precipitation, regardless of the fact that it shows a scenario that's a bit of an outlier, it still shows a lot of rain across the areas that do see it. And again, it's not as much across Missouri and into central Iowa, while the European, if you recall, similar to the Canadian, shows a lot more across these areas. Right there, boom, that's a lot more precipitation. Some of it's heavy, so that is definitely something we'll have to watch for. Again, stay tuned for details. I'll be updating you guys. Let's move on to the south central United States, another area that will most likely be impacted by this storm pretty significantly. Not in the form of rain, snow, question mark, but in terms of severe weather. Again, some areas won't even see anything from this system. If you live across western Texas, western Oklahoma, western Arkansas, or western Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, you'll see that. Obviously, you'll see a little bit of warm air ahead of this, and little maybe an understatement. There could be some very warm temperatures into the day on Sunday and even early Monday. But notice that by late Monday, we start seeing some showers erupting according to the GFS, which again I don't really think has the best handle of it, but still shows some pretty nasty storms across Arkansas, Missouri, into Mississippi, northern Mississippi, Louisiana, eastern Texas. So cities like Dallas seeing this, but notice Amarillo, right, the Panhandles here, liberal Kansas. I think that's a city in Kansas, right there across the Southwest. Dodge City. You guys won't be necessarily seeing much from this system, just some temperature swings, but you can see a lot of that precipitation occurring pretty east of these areas. But the thing is that where this does occur across Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, or southern Illinois, it could be pretty nasty severe weather and quite a bit of rain. And notice that this thing does move out of here eventually by late Monday into early Tuesday. But again, the damage can be done, and there could be quite a significant, not only a rainfall event, but again, the severe storms. It could be very powerful. Some tornadoes are possible, if not likely. But notice here, a dry hole kind of, so that's unfortunate. A lot of these areas do need rain. Another thing after this storm for the south central United States, you will be seeing all this warm air ahead of it. There will be more seasonal temperatures, maybe not necessarily cold. Here it shows a few days of maybe chill. Warm temperatures do rebound back, you can see, but they're just not as warm. And then once you get out past 240 hours, it's a little bit of a mystery. The models disagree there. You can see the GFS, however, painting a pretty warm scenario. European, though, again, as I was saying, there are some pretty big differences between what the models show. As I show you this now, you can see that there's that system across the west, and boom, again, Sunday, Monday, very nice warm day, but more rain potentially across central Oklahoma, central Kansas, while the GFS completely misses almost the whole state of Oklahoma with rain. The European is a bit further towards the west and a bit further towards the south with the low pressure system itself, so it shows more precip potentially impacting even the panhandle of Texas there. Obviously Missouri, Kansas City, you guys get in on a lot more precipitation with this event, and Kansas, again, also a lot more activity. Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, you guys, especially eastern Texas, it seems like you guys will get hit by the rain no matter which scenario you look at in the severe weather. Still, though, European shows quite some nasty storms as well. Maybe not quite as severe as a GFS, but still a nasty scenario going on here. And you can see it starts kind of slowing down as it approaches the southeast. So there could be a prolonged little period of rain there, especially as you get into Mississippian areas further east. Total accumulated precipitation according to the European, again, heavy, just like the GFS, but the biggest difference is it's a little bit further towards the east, so that affects cities like Oklahoma City and likewise into Kansas and Texas. You can see Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Louisiana picking up quite a bit of rain here. And again, some of that could be some nasty severe weather, which I want to show you right now what the Storm Prediction Center has to say about that. So looking at the day 4 to 8 weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, people basically that the Storm Prediction Center is an organization that forecasts for severe weather across the United States, and this is still, I think, 4 days out. Yes, 4 days out. So this is still far out, relatively speaking, for severe weather, especially for severe weather. This is very far out, and the fact that they already have a 30% chance of severe weather, so an enhanced equivalent for a good portion of northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and northeastern Texas, indicates that, well, they're rather confident that there will be some sort of a severe weather outbreak. Again, this is the biggest concern for these areas. Looking at the weather models, this may not look too bad, just a few storms, but they go into the detail on the thermodynamics and what else plays into this. I unfortunately don't have such knowledge on the weather to go into that, so obviously I show you this, and even about the other stuff that I am, a little bit more apt about, like the snow. The National Weather Service is still the number one source I go to, and when I talk to you guys about my opinions, they're heavily influenced by what the National Weather Service says. So, I'm not trying to be one of those people that just thinks that are. I'm not particularly pointing this towards anyone, but I'm not. I don't want to substitute the National Weather Service. I'm just trying to redirect you, if you will, towards them. If you are a weather enthusiast happening to watch this, do note that southern Illinois, southern Indiana, you guys could get in on some severe weather as well, so don't just focus on that 30%. Tornadoes and severe weather could still occur within that 15%, and do note that into the day on Tuesday, this thing kind of spreads further south and east, so potentially 2 or 3 days of severe weather is possible, if not very likely. Again, western Texas, western Oklahoma, not as much of a concern, mainly, again, further eastward. So that is definitely something we have to watch for, and let's start talking about the Northeast, as this is another area that will be getting pretty impacted by the system, though not as significantly as some of the previous systems. So for you guys, this isn't a major news story. Do note the next few days you will be seeing rain. So if you're watching this on a Saturday, Sunday, or you're looking at your forecast, and there will be a little bit of rain, a little bit of precipitation across the Northeast into the New Year's Eve. This isn't from the storm I'm talking about. This is from a separate one. It should stay rather light, and you can see it moves away rather snow-free through the day on Sunday. By Monday, you can see the temperatures are starting to warm back up again into the day on Tuesday, very warm, and we do see that precipitation explode. Again, this is the GFS scenario. I don't believe this is the best model that has the best handle, but according to the GFS, I still want to show you it. Show some rain skimming the northern areas of the Northeast here, so inland New York, Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, Ohio, and into obviously southern Canada. Again, you guys here that are lined up across the St. Lawrence River, you guys got a lot of snow recently, and same with upstate New York and in upstate New England. Relatively, you definitely have some snow, or some areas did pick up quite a bit of snow. That it will be melting here. You can see warm temperatures and rain, and the system kind of falls apart by the time it hits the Northeast, right? So the most of its show will be across the west and central United States. The GFS does show some sort of potentially resurging precipitation across the coastline into the day on Wednesday and Thursday, but nothing really too significant. Maybe a little bit of snow behind it. And yesterday, if you recall, it showed more of a snow scenario across some of these areas into the late week next week. So still tied with this system, but at this point pretty far out. Now it's kind of backed off from that, so we'll just have to wait and see what it does. One thing that I am rather confident that will happen behind this system into, as we head into next week, midweek especially, is cooler temperatures, right? So any precip that does end up flirting in here, you can see it turns into forms into snow. Whether or not it's gonna be a big system, small system, the models are really quite inconsistent. So enjoy the warm temperatures if you are a warm temperature lover for the winter time. I know a lot of people want the snow, but the cold will be back. Again, not horrible cold, but more seasonable, so chillier compared to what you guys are seeing now. Now the European is a bit different. So again, the GFS, no snow really from this for you guys, mainly rain, and you can see that extends into Virginia, West Virginia. Some areas could see some heavy rain, especially from the first event that's occurring right now and the later one, obviously the big one, but it's rain, so it's not too bad, and it's also not that incredibly heavy compared to what the southern United States could be seeing with this. But if I take a look at the European model and show you its differences, which I believe the European has a better handling on the system, I just wanted to show you the difference between the models still. So again, the next few days, a little bit of rain from this first one. Some stronger precipitation rates towards Maryland, Delaware definitely could be occurring, southern New Jersey, but again, nothing incredible as this thing intensifies, but it's already well off the coast. Then we have that big storm that I'm kind of talking about in the main title here. You can see it does, the European, just like the GFS, introduced some rain into northern Pennsylvania, Ohio, upstate New York. So it seems as if, especially the further north and inland you go, you will be seeing some heavier period of rain. Coastal areas, not so much to the day on Tuesday, but you still get in on that rainfall from a redevelopment of this front on the day on Wednesday, and you can see into the late Wednesday hours into Thursday, you see some rain redeveloping, potentially some rain across the same areas that did get that rain from the first wave of this system. But you could see even some nasty thunderstorms as far north, far north as Virginia, southern Maryland, and into portions of the Northeast, mainly a heavier rain event, or just a moderate rain event. And what's interesting is the European shows a bit more snow with this resurgent cold front. You could see potentially developing across southeastern Canada, again, maybe into northern Maine. Again, how extensive the snow will be, it remains to be seen. It doesn't look like a major accumulating event, but just like the GFS, the European keeps it rather chilly following that. So that is that. The total QPF will be a bit heavier with the European because of that redeveloping cold front. It slows down a bit. So some areas definitely 2-3 inches of rain, and this is especially concerning for areas that got clobbered with all that heavy snow from this past beast that we saw. So that melting and those warm temperatures and that rainfall, which could be heavy in some areas, could add to some concerns here in terms of that. But by itself, the system won't be bringing too much snow, following the rain. Again, the European does show a bit for some of these areas. Again, it remains to be seen. It's still a little bit far out. So that's the Northeast. Let's now go and shift our focus towards the southeastern United States, because this is an area that will also be impacted, maybe not as significantly as, again, the western United States or even the south central United States with the severe weather, but the the western areas of the southeast, so mainly Mississippi, Alabama, if you live in those states, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Indiana, Illinois, you guys are pretty, I would say there's a good chance for severe weather for you. Further west, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, it's not as significant. But let's show you the GFS. So the next few hours and days into Saturday and Sunday, there will be a little bit of rain. So unfortunately, there will be some rain for the New Year's Eve celebrations across the southeast. Good news is it shouldn't be too heavy, and it will be mainly out of here by potentially where the ball or whatever celebration goes on across the southeast. I know in New York City they dropped that ball, but here you can see elsewhere it's pretty much dry by the time midnight comes, so that's good for you guys. And that you could see it stays dry into the day on Monday, but again by late Monday to Tuesday we see that severe weather exploding across the south central United States that crosses the Mississippi into Kentucky, Tennessee, northern Mississippi, Alabama. By the time it gets into Tuesday, we do have a severe weather threat of slight issued for southern Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana for the day on Tuesday. And you can see this cold front kind of stalls out, so we're losing a lot of its severity by the time it reaches North Carolina, Virginia there, eastern Kentucky and eastern Tennessee on the day late Tuesday into Wednesday. But you can see it starts redeveloping, so right there, boom, and we see a more resurgent cold front moving towards the north and east. Now for the southeast, this doesn't necessarily mean too much rainfall, additional rainfall. It could be for some areas, but the main threat is, depending on how strong this cold front is, there could be another day of potentially severe weather on Wednesday further north here. Again, doesn't look nearly as potent as with that storm, with that first wave of severe weather. Still something we'll have to watch for, and behind it we see more seasonable temperatures moving in. So according to the GFS, the total precip you can see is pretty significant, especially with that rain that has already fallen. So that's something definitely to watch for. But again, I'm more concerned about the severe weather within 200 miles kind of that Mississippi River area on both sides. Though looking at the European model, it shows that secondary cold front that redevelops a little bit stronger, so that's a bit more concerning. Notice there's that rain moving away, there's that precipitation beginning across the southeast on the the western areas on Monday into the day on Tuesday. You can see it slows that cold front down, but it's very powerful into the day on Tuesday. And you can see those storms again across, especially southern Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, staying stronger through the day on Tuesday. That's why there's a slight issue for you guys. But just like the GFS, the European makes this cold front kind of fall apart. There will be some rain that reaches Florida into Georgia, the Carolinas on late Tuesday, but it's not heavy. But with that resurgence again across Alabama, Mississippi, there could be some more severe thunderstorms. Again, maybe more closer to being strong. I don't know how severe they will be. We'll have to wait and see for Wednesday. The Storm Prediction Center doesn't have anything issued yet, but notice that the secondary cold front that develops is stronger than what the GFS shows, so there's more pull from the Gulf of Mexico, again increasing that severe weather threat, but it also adds those rainfall amounts, and through the day on Wednesday, this thing kind of marches through the southeast and exits, thankfully, by the time we get into your Thursday, affecting mainly only the Outer Banks and extreme southern Florida with that rain. Do note in terms of total quantitative precipitation, so the rainfall, the European does show a bit more because of that secondary cold front being stronger. Some areas picking up some decent amounts, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of rainfall, if not more. But again, the severe weather is definitely what I'm more concerned about. And speaking of that, you can see day 4, this is what it looks like, affecting the western areas, and in here is day 5. You can see across Alabama, Mississippi. Would not be surprised to see an enhanced across this area, which is, greater risk. And then by day 6, predictability too low doesn't necessarily mean that they won't have any severe weather, and I'd be surprised if they don't at least issue a slight for the day on Wednesday. Let's go back now and give you guys a brief little overview of the forecast here, of the storm, I guess, showing you the scope of this, but also showing you maybe what could be going on in the long range potentially. And again, the models are just spoiler alert. The models are very consistent with what's coming after this storm system. So notice again, there's that beast you can see tracking across the west. It's really encouraging to see that precipitation across the west right there, southwest. That's definitely where they need that precip. Again, some of those amounts will be extremely heavy, especially as the system stalls out for a few hours, for the next 12-24 hours before intensifying, moving out into north central United States. Again, European, very healthy rainfall footprint for these areas. Again, heavy snowfall footprint as well. Some strong winds, very heavy snow potentially across Minnesota there, Wisconsin. We could see it peters out also pretty quickly. And again, it does show some range intensification potentially going on here. Whether or not that occurs and to what extent remains to be seen. However, as that moves out, you can see we see a little bit of a more cool air getting in. Not really cold pattern, though probably still more warm than cold, but just not as warm as what we've been seeing out ahead of the system. More western activity, so again, you can see pretty nasty cyclone moving in there across the west, delivering more precipitation, rain. And you can see the European doesn't really show any additional activity that is massive. However, the GFS, while the most recent model run also isn't too excited, if you go back to even as early as today in the morning at 6 o'clock, the 6 o'clock 6Z model run, it showed a lot more activity, and you can see that's activity right now. There's that system we're talking about. Again, the GFS is quite a bit different scenario from the European, but there it is, moves out, and it leaves more cold air in place than what the European shows. It does show continued activity from the west, but if you saw that, I zoomed past that, there could be some sort of a nor'easter potential, which the GFS shows here. It's backed off of that ever since. Again, that doesn't mean it can't go back onto that. Notice maybe some sort of a clipper system across the Midwest, evolving potentially into a stronger storm across the Northeast as well. Resurgent cold. Again, you can see the models are quite a bit different. Maybe some sort of another storm system developing here. And if you look at the most recent model run, the GFS is quite a bit different. So that just goes to show you that a lot of this stuff that the models show don't really hold for too long. So take it with a grain of salt, pretty much anything past hour 240, as this thing could easily and quickly change. And the Canadian has its own version of the long range. It only goes out to 240, but even that far out, the models really disagree. So we'll have to wait and see. That is basically for now, though. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.